Hi guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Chanel, for that introduction. Um, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna get right to it. You are a battery. Yes, you and everybody else out there listening. We're big batteries, right? Batteries come in all different sizes, shapes, and strengths, but we are batteries. And the reason I say that is because it's a great analogy for what I'm going to talk about today. We charge up, we wear down. We charge up, we wear down. Who here knows sometimes the energy's up, and sometimes more than we like to admit, the energy is way down. So, what happens if you overcharge a battery? Okay, and quite literally, if you overcharge a real battery, what happens is it overheats and it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't power things properly. It actually loses its flow and capacity. So we're kind of like that. Oh, excuse me. We are kind of like that in that. When we rev up too much, we can become almost psychologically, mentally hyperactive, attention deficit, addictive, manic. You've heard of bipolar. It could be more like the physiological side of that kind of thing. Okay, and I'm not diagnosing anybody and saying, hey, just because you're hyper or a spaz like me, chasing squirrels means I'm bipolar. But it is kind of the human condition, right? We get up and we get down. It's just the extremes that harm us, right? That's what we're typically talking about when we're talking about health is the extremes. So if you overcharge yourself, what kind of things will overcharge you, right? Stress, stimulants, drugs, not sleeping too much. We'll get too many stress hormones that overcharge us. And what discharges us or drains us, right? Stress, not sleeping enough, not eating the right nutrients for literal electrical flow in our bodies to happen properly, not enough water. So it's kind of a funny thing. You could harm your body drinking too much water. You could harm your body not drinking enough water. Harm your body eating too much food, not enough food. Too much work, not enough work. Too much exercise, not enough exercise, right? Wouldn't you guys all say? So we want to live in this range here of low charge, high charge. We don't want to be dangerously dead battery, and we don't want to be overcharged battery, because this is where sickness and death occurs, okay? Quite literally. Okay, so make sense, everybody? If you have any questions, please, I love to be interrupted. When I do workshops, please interrupt me. Please say something. Raise your hand. Type a comment. I imagine my lovely assistant would be happy to say, "Hey, Dr. Sean, run it back a couple seconds. Somebody wants to ask you about that." Or I get a little excited and start talking fast. So please, you're not going to interrupt me. If you wait for a pause, that might have been the only one you're going to get. So please tell me. Awesome. Thank you. And if I see things that pop up on the chat, I'll go ahead and address them. But if I'm oblivious to them, just say, hey, we got a question, we got a comment here, and it'll flash across me. So, okay, so too much charge, not good. Too little charge, not good. You don't want to be up and down. Remember the old cell phones, you guys, from like the early 90s. They had dots on them and a little antenna you pulled up, and you just take your battery off and put it in the cradle and grab a new battery, and you'd have to call your girl or your guy back or your friend back and say, hey, I gotta switch batteries real quick. Remember talking on the phone for 3-4 hours on the mobile phones? Those phones, remember those batteries? You had to charge them fully and discharge them fully, or they would get something called a memory, right? And then their range was like this, You take it off the charger, you're halfway to where you're going in your car, and it's already saying low battery, okay? That happens to us, metaphorically, when we do the same thing every day without variation, without changing with the seasons, without changing with the environment of our body or our stress environment, we start to develop a memory. And that quite literally is what our heart does too. The electrical activity of our heart, when you do an AKG, we want a heart that jumps around a little bit, is a little unpredictable. Not radically unpredictable, but a little unpredictable. If it's predictable, it's a sick heart. It's a heart that can't deal with variation. It can't deal with somebody cutting you off in traffic. It can't deal with bad news on the phone. It can't deal with a promotion. It can't deal with a termination. It can't deal with a loss of a loved one. So we got to make sure our batteries have high capacity so we're taking care of ourselves properly, or quite literally our heart and our brain can't handle it. So anyhow, yeah, those cell phones were funny, weren't they? So you got to charge them up. And if you live in this right spectrum of charge, we might actually teach you today how to live more in that healthy spectrum of charge so you could be renewed, you could be refreshed, you could be regenerated, which I call life force, right? Optimal health is a lot of life force. And that almost gets into a spiritual kind of energy, right? It goes from happiness to joy, okay? Happiness is very circumstantial, right? For those of you who maybe heard the rumor, I did my first presentation 2 days ago to you guys, maybe not this group, but your company, flat on my back. Okay. I was going to get charged up for the day. I went to the gym, and on that last curl, and I'm going to be honest, they weren't very heavy dumbbells. I mean, for what I think is heavy, my back said, Sean, do you remember that I've been showing you some signs and symptoms that you were maybe a little overcharged, pushing a little too hard? You just got back from LA, you drove too much, you didn't get a lot of sleep, you got up real early, maybe you had a little too much caffeine. I was trying to tell you, but you didn't listen. So on that last curl, I got shut down. My battery drained, okay? And that is called sciatica. For those of you who ever have used the expression pain in the butt, it was quite literal for me. Flat on my back in the gym, okay? I dragged my leg into the yoga room, so at least I wasn't too embarrassed. But and the funny part is my gym is kind of an HOA gym. I live in a great community called Blackstone, but it's mostly seniors using the gym. Like, 65-year-olds young for my gym. They must have all snickered as they see this, almost 50-year-old guy dragging his leg, barely making it out. And they were kind, but I got some looks like, that young buck, he shouldn't have been lifting those heavy weights. So I failed to listen to my body. I overcharged myself, okay? And now I was discharged a couple days ago. So I'm sitting here and I do have pain in my leg. Those of you raise your hand if you've had like debilitating back pain, leg pain, migraines. You know what it's like to be out for the count. It puts you in a temporary state of fear, confusion, drab, melancholy, depression, anxiety, right? All that stuff starts floating around. And so Mary asked me a couple days ago, how you doing today? I said, good. And I had to check myself and be honest, am I really good? Because, that is a conditioned response. But I thought about it for just a split second. In my mind's eye, I go, no, I am good. Okay, my circumstances might be crummy in some areas. But if I look at the overarching theme of my life, I am better than good. I'm great. That circumstance had the ability to make me feel unhappy in the moment, but I chose to be happy. But that's only because I got a real charged up battery and I got some joy in there, because joy is void of circumstance. Joy is like, hey, my circumstances stink today. It's gray out there. It's raining. Oh, I don't like it gray. I don't like to be cold. I don't like the wet. I'm a California kid, but I do know that sun is right up above there and it's coming out soon. Okay. And I could be like, hey, thank you, Lord, for the rain. Who here knows it's nice to see some rain? Because I'm tired of seeing the news talk about violence and war and drought and viruses. So it's nice to see some rain. It's like, I don't know how they're going to fit that in there, that little positive thing at the end they like to put in after they stress you out for, 7 hours running the ticker tape. Anyhow, we're going to charge up. Sound good? Okay, sound good. And remember, I love interruptions. So I will tell you who I am, why I'm qualified to talk to you. I am a doctor of chiropractic. I was going to be a surgeon, but I had some injuries and I didn't like the way healthcare treated them. They're great for urgent, not so great in the issue I had. Chiropractor helped me. I said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be one of them. Then I looked over and said, what do you do again besides, cracking bones? And so I learned, I specialize mostly in hormone health and stress. 20 years in practice. I've had 4 practices, all successful. Currently, I have 3 businesses, very different too. You can see the barn door behind me. I like to make custom barn doors like that, fancy, fun sliding things. I do it with my boys. That's how we play for competitive basketball. I have 3 teenage sons who all play competitive travel basketball. So I'm all over the West Coast and even to Atlanta this summer with my middle son. I have a very charmed life, you guys. I grew up in Sonoma County most of my life, beautiful place. I worked at Costco Wholesale from the time I graduated high school for 10 years, worked my way through college, Santa Rosa Junior College, Sonoma State, great places. I was promoted to supervisor at 19 years old, real ambitious, real go-getter. Had a little stint as a natural bodybuilder in my early 20s. I own a beautiful home. I have 4 kids. I'm married 19 years. I have a Pomeranian. I don't know how that happened. My daughter hit me sideways on that one. But I have a Pomeranian, a little fat Chihuahua named Frank, and a big old cat that's bigger than both of them combined named Dexter. So I got a great life. I got a charmed life. And a lot of you are going, oh, I'm already withdrawing. I'm disconnecting from this guy because I got nothing in common with him, right? Hold that thought, because this is, see, that's the life I wanted you to see, right? That's all my shiny stuff I just told you. That's my Instagram profile. That's my professional profile. Here's what I didn't tell you. You and I, everybody on this call, have a really, really direct connection through child support services, right? No, I did not work for child support services. No, I do not pay child support. What end do you think I was? I was on the kid end being raised by a single mom with 4 kids and sometimes homeless and sometimes no food. We know the food banks well. We know the love of churches well. We know welfare system well. We know child support services, but it really hits home for me. And I didn't even make this connection until yesterday's talk, believe it or not. My dad was a hippie, as my mom. They were junkies, heroin addicts. He left when I was 3 months old. I never knew him. But at 9 years old, Sonoma County Child Support Service said, hey, we found him and it's time to pay up, okay? And that was a blessing for him, number one, because he needed to pay. Fathers need to contribute, number one. Number two, that was a connection of me and him. He's kind of a stubborn, prideful dude and said, well, if I'm going to pay for this kid, I'm going to meet him. Oh, Lord help me. 9 years old, I get court ordered to go to meet him for 3 months. I get picked on by these crazy stepbrothers, but I met some awesome family that I have out there. I don't have a great relationship with my dad, but I do have a relationship with my dad. And that's what's better for him and me, because a boy needs a father figure, right? And maybe I didn't get a real father, but I had a father figure through other areas of my life. But it's nice to know who I am and where I come from. So thank you, Child Support Services, Sonoma County. And that's a weird thing, right? So like I said, guys, I've been in foster care. I've been around a lot of abuse. I've been very protected and blessed through my life with my 3 siblings. I'm oldest of 4. I pretty much was changing diapers by 10 years old, babysitting, working by 13. I begged, borrowed, stealed. I did a lot of cheating and lying and trying to make people like me and had a big chip on my shoulder. I was really heavy as a kid, emotional eater. I was 5'3", 200 pounds as a 12-year-old. And let me tell you, when you're starting to get girl crazy, and you are the big kid, it's tough. It's tough. So that's the other lens of who I am. So if you were to look through the first lens, the rose-colored glasses, oh man, that guy's got a charmed life. He's got no worries. If I could only have his life, he's got money and a house and kids and a Pomeranian even, which that one, the jury's still out on that one. But then you put on the other lenses, you go, oh my goodness, I have more in common with this person than I thought. So what I would ask you is just whenever you're dealing with somebody, whether it's a relative, a friend, a family, a boss, a subordinate, somebody you manage, somebody at line at Costco, me on the phone with my cell phone carrier for 2 hours this morning and finally got hung up on because they couldn't fix my problem. Oh, got to give grace, got to hold judgment, just withhold it because I haven't walked in their shoes. And that's a hard thing to do. So that's all a little side note of who I am. So who are you guys? Okay, take a moment. Everybody got a pen and a paper? Just write a few words. Who are you? Who's your authentic you? Like not what you do, but who are you? Who are you? And please type some of those in if we know. We got mothers, we got fathers, we got managers. Perfect. Yeah. So you know what it's like to break your own rules. Thank you, Kayla. And you're never an ex-athlete. You're either an athlete or you're not, okay? Now, you might not move as fast as you used to, jump as high, but once an athlete, always an athlete. Because it's important to keep that in your mind. So you are an athlete. Make sure you write that down, not an ex, okay? All right, what else you got? Anybody have any I statements? I am here's my authentic me. I'm a loving person. I'm a compassionate person. It's a tough one. And here's what I usually ask in practice, right? When I that's like the left jab, and then and that one holds you up, and then I knock you down with, well, what's your purpose? Okay, assuming you know who you are, what's your purpose? Okay, and that one gives people a lot of trouble because we go, oh my goodness, most of us, the answer to these questions are a product of mother, father, teacher, preacher, environment, social media, right? All these people that sowed into our lives, some did great sewing and some were hard on us, or some even were abusive, right? There's been a rough go. We get lots of bumps and bruises along the way, and sometimes we have no idea who we are, okay? That's why it's really important to stop and realize you don't live in the past or the future. You live in the present, and that's the only way to access who you really are. The only way to really charge your battery and assess who you really are is staying in the present moment, okay? Because most of our fear and worry and control come from the future or the past. Our brain will try to create a better future by drawing on the past, right? So then what we end up doing is try to fix our life or set goals and expectations based on the same level of thinking and people and attitudes and environment that created the problems in the first place. That's why we never get anywhere, because it's what we know. Okay, so yeah, let's see. Compassionate comedian. I like that. Single mom. Oh, I know single moms. Bless you. Is a little crazy okay? I would think something was not right with you if you didn't admit that we're all a little crazy. Easygoing father of one so far. Mother, student, government employee, photographer, explorer. Excellent. Many hats. Big kid at heart. Mother, daughter, caregiver. Stubborn daughter, passionate person. These are great. Mother, wife, government worker, community leader, student. I like that. I'm loved and love others. Father of three. There you go, guys. I appreciate this. Mother, artist, writer, daughter, sister, wife, coach, educator. Okay, so a lot of things that describe what you do, which is awesome. And a few things that are like, yeah, that's authentically who I am. That's great. That's what I wanted to see. Mother, loving person, enjoy working with people. Terrific. So in the moment, thank you. And I looked through all those. If I didn't read yours, trust me, I saw it. And I appreciate knowing that. So what I want you to do is remember this. Those things you just told me are who you are, or descriptive of who you are. And they're descriptive maybe of your purpose a bit. Who here gets stressed out? So when you're stressed out, I promise you for a split second, you forget who you are. Because I'll bet you, now be honest, who gets cranky, mean, who hides, who runs, who fights, who flights, who denies, who eats too much, who overexercises, who drinks too much, who drives like a maniac, who laughs at things they shouldn't, who doesn't laugh when they should, right? All those things do not match anything on that side there, okay? Which means, and I bet you guys get those, right? Which means, here's who you are, but sometimes you act like this, okay? This is what? The stressed version of you, you'd say? Would that be pretty accurate? Anybody want to comment on that? Anybody associate with any of those things I said? Yeah, cranky, hangry. Ooh, we're going to talk about hangry, what that is, and I appreciate that. Because some of us are fighters and some of us are flighters. Does that make sense? So here's how fight or flight works. Way back, there used to be a saber-toothed cat. He was right out there, okay? Right outside our cave. And we knew if that saber-toothed cat came close, we either had to fight or flight, right? Or climb a tree or run, but you get the idea. So when we fight or flight, it's really important to know what's happening there. Let's say, what do we need to do to get out of danger, to fight or to flight? Do we need our blood pressure to go up and deliver more blood to our muscles, or go down? Okay, it has to go up, right? So what is high blood pressure called? If it stays too long, it's called hypertension, one of the leading causes of heart disease, okay? What happens, do we need more sugar to fuel our muscles? Because that's anaerobic. When we're running and our heart rate's maximum, you can't burn oxygen, you can't get air there, but you still got to feed the muscles, or you just fall down and get eaten by that bear or that saber-toothed cat. So we get more blood sugar, okay? Do you think your body cares about fighting an infection, a virus? You know, you guys have heard of viruses this last year, 2 years. You think your body cares about fighting those viruses when you're stressed out? It does not. It cares about sustaining life. Do you think your body cares about digesting food? The lunch you just ate when you're about to be lunch? No, it doesn't care. So it shunts up to 75% of the blood away from your digestive tract. Your immune system says, we're taking a time out. We got to get out of danger. Okay, and we fight or we flight. Here's the problem in America, guys. The North American way of life is a low-level fight or flight. We're not really life or death most of the time, right? But we are stressed out, okay? Our battery is constantly being drained by what? So what is stress? Let's talk about what stress is. Right now, you guys give me your stressors, okay? We're all different too, right? So we think stress is uniform, but it's not. Stress is specific to the stressor, or to the stressee, or the stressed out person, right? For instance, heights. Right now, raise your hand if you like heights. Watch, Chanel, you're going to see a bunch of them. People are like, oh, I love heights. We're going to go to the top of the building right now and look down, okay? I start walking really slow with these big steps, like my feet weigh 100 pounds when I get close to the edge. My friend was the engineer for Bank of America building in San Francisco. That used to be the big one before they built the new one that's kind of leaning. And the little pointy one, that's cheating. There's nothing really up there. He stood on the edge of that building, looked down. Just seeing him up there, I started like, I couldn't move my body, all right? But somebody out there is going to say, I love that. I love heights. What about spiders and snakes? What about needles? What about, right? What about hurrying and worrying? What about traffic? All these things are stressors, but they're very specific to the person, okay? I love being amped up with stress. I get manic almost. I get like I'm that Energizer Bunny. I'm chasing squirrels. I got squirrels chasing squirrels. And then what happens is what happened 2 days ago. Boom, my body shuts me down. It says, Sean, you got to chill out. I love you so much. You got to chill out. I'm going to humble you too a little bit because you're going to do the presentation like this, laying on your back. I'm telling you guys, that was a first for me. I've done 150 of these in the last few years, and that was the first one laying flat on my back. And so I'm glad we could all get through that together. I'm reading these. These are fun. So, okay. So we know what stresses us, right, guys? We know what stresses us. But it doesn't mean that's universal stress or an absolute, okay? But it is specific to you. So we have all these batteries, okay? We could charge our battery and drain our battery. But the 4 things I want to talk about have the potential to drain us or charge us. And they are stress related, but I want you to start seeing it from an individual stress and not just calling it, oh, I'm so stressed out. Well, what does that mean? I want you to understand because stress is also good. Okay, so we talked about if you're about to get eaten by the bear or the saber-toothed cat, that your immune system won't work and your gut won't work, right? So then you get autoimmunes and you get cancer and you get ulcerative colitis and you get GERD and you get reflux and you get gastritis and you get irritable bowel syndrome. I mean, I go on all day. Those are the diseases that happen when we're stuck in stress too long, right? But how your body exhibits is very different. When I get sick, my back hurts. When I'm overamped, my back hurts. When I'm about anything, my back hurts, okay? I never get coughs, colds like the rest of the people around me, okay? People say, what do you mean? That's back pain. That's not virus. No, it's a virus. My virus attacks my spinal nerve roots, like shingles. You've heard of that, okay? Your virus might attack your heart and your lungs. Some viruses attack the sinuses. So we're all very different, but it doesn't mean those are 72 different problems. Those are just examples of a body that's taking in too much stress and it's draining, okay? So stress can be good though. Let's say you're not in fight or flight. What happens when you get a virus? What happens when you naturally get COVID-19, okay? And you're in pretty decent shape and you fight it and you go through it and it's rough and you have 2-3 weeks where you feel like you're dying, maybe even 6, but then you come back stronger than ever. You're gonna be immune to that thing forever. Well, not forever. I mean, that's a little exaggerated. But the first COVID, the one from, I think 2009, don't quote me on all this, but this was the second SARS. We had a SARS outbreak a while back. They didn't call it a pandemic. Same thing though, real bad. People got sick. Those people still have immunity and that virus has changed 20% now. After all these years, they're still immune, which is so great. So that's how the immune system should work, right? That's how the theory of vaccinations work. You get a little, you become immune to it. The problem is for some people, that's a real bad thing to do because it's one size fits all and you are unique, right? 6 billion people in this world, there's nobody like you. You're the only one like you. It's so bizarre. How could that even be? Of all the people on this earth ever, you're the only one like you, okay? There's purpose for you. There's an understanding you have to have. If you don't have it, you're gonna get sick. You're gonna drain your battery. You're gonna get depressed and anxious and fearful and controlling, and you're gonna hide, or you're gonna fight, or you're gonna flight all the time, then you're gonna get sick. We don't want that to happen. Okay, so 4 things that are gonna charge you, right? I want to go to sleep when I'm stressed. It's literally draining to me. Right, isn't that wild? And for me, I want to go out and I want to go hit the gym. I want to run. I want to work more. I want to argue with people. I just go pick a fight, you know? I don't pick a fight like in bars. I'll just say something sharp and I'll challenge something and I'll just be a jerk when I'm overrevved and stressed. So 4 things, guys. We're going to write these down, okay? Number 1 is your thought life. Thoughts, the potential to charge you or drain you. Okay, what kind of thoughts do you think are going to charge you up? Right, happy thoughts, good thoughts, compassionate thoughts. Thoughts that are not self-critical. Who are my self-critical people? Raise your hand. Oh, I hate myself. Oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, why did I do that? I should have done better, could have done better. Hey, stop shitting on yourself already, please. Okay? It's a nasty thing to always be shitting on yourself. Here's the thing, we all make mistakes. We have to learn to be forgiving of self because negativity, what happens is, so we live in a 3-dimensional world, right? See, there's texture to me. Oh, look at that. You just saw my 3rd dimension, right? 1, 2, 3. All right. You all got 3 dimensions? I don't know, Chanel. I only see 1 dimension there. Let me see some texture there. Let's turn that head. See, we want to see all these dimensions. We're textured humans. I love it. That's what makes us unique, right? I wouldn't know how awesome that hair is unless you're flipping around like that. You're this big to me right now. And I went, oh, there's more to her than just what you see, right? So we're very complex creatures. But guess what, you guys? There's a 4th dimension out there. I'm reading this book right now. It's crazy. 4th Dimensional Living in a 3rd Dimensional World by Dr. David Yong Cho, C-H-O. Dr. David Cho, 4th Dimension Living. This is a trip. What this talks about, now give it, if you don't like spiritual stuff, yeah, you might not want to get that. If you don't like weird stuff, like miracle stuff, don't read this. But if you're curious about, what do you mean fourth dimension? Where do you think your thoughts go, guys? Where do you think your prayers go? Where do you think your thoughts go? For some, prayers and thoughts are the same thing. They all stay down here, but they don't go anywhere. There's no universe. This is all we have. But some think, hey, these go into some sort of other universal place. And trust me, there's a lot of places, right? There's light moving around. There's a whole universe we don't see. Cell phone waves, radio waves, TV waves, invisible light, infrared, cosmic waves, X-rays. They're all around, guys. These waves are everywhere. And trust me, they're bumping into us and bouncing off of us and doing all kinds of things. That's where our thoughts go, into that world too, right? So what we think, it beams like we're cell phone antennas, right? You guys are a bunch of 5G. You're probably like 100G. Science will probably never catch up to how amazing humans are. Okay, but what happens is you're projecting every time you think a thought. Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. Who walks around just being like, I love everybody, everybody's great, Now, there's a couple weird ones like that. And then there's a bunch like me, kind of crotchety and uptight and, I didn't park very good. I'm to work 2 minutes late. I wish I would, I coulda, shoulda. I didn't bring the cans in, so I bumped it on the way out. I door dinged the car next. It's never ending, right? But the problem is all that thinking goes up into this fourth dimension and it's like a magnet. Oh, the negativity in this world goes, hey, there's a negative little swarm going on. Let's go party with that guy's negativity. And then you come to work and you walk by people and they're like, whoa, right? You ever have that? You ever walk in a room and people go, hi? Yeah. That's exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's like that. And also, there's other times people walk in, you're like, oh, I just love that guy. I just love that woman. I just love that person. I don't even know what it is about them. Well, chances are they're spending time being aware of what they're putting into that fourth dimension, of what's kicking around in their head. So what kind of things do you think would be good things to kick around up in our head that would promote charging our battery as an exercise, as a discipline, right? Write it on a Post-it. Write it in a journal. Force yourself, guys. This ain't gonna happen naturally. This world is full of stress and fear and anger and aggression right now. If you just default to, I'm gonna just see how the day goes, you're done. We start the day, you know how the day goes, the alarm clock, that's a great way to start the day, right? Like bomb raid sound. And then we stub our toe getting up, and then the shower's too cold or too hot, and then the hair won't work because who out there is going, darn weather, my hair's frizzy, that was me today. Frizzy hair, you know what I'm saying? And then we get in the car and we left the stereo on too loud and the air conditioner was on and we're like freezing and then we get in traffic. Trust me. So what do we got? We got prayer. What else we got, guys? What are the things? What about love? I like it. We're going to talk about motion in a minute. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yeah, what is a thought, you guys? A thought is an electromagnetic chemical reaction, right? We have these lobes of our brain, but they some touch, but some don't touch. And what happens is you have these things called neurotransmitters. You've heard of them, serotonin, GABA, dopamine, acetylcholine. And these are wires and these are wires. Those neurotransmitters flood in here, kind of like they just kind of cruise by and they make the connections happen, okay? That's a thing. That's an electrochemical reaction. It burns calories. It creates heat. The brain is a real deal. So those thoughts are not just, random events. It's not like you're just typing keys on a computer. But even when you type keys on a computer, that's all stored. That computer remembers that. There's a drive in there that's taking a memory of that. Sometimes that's going up to a cloud. It's going somewhere else, like parts of your brain. But thoughts are things, guys. Thoughts are absolutely things. Neuroscience is very real and we are very patterned. You know how many days it takes to change a thought pattern or a habit? We've all heard maybe 21 days. Some people say, I'm going to double that. We can call it 42. I'm going to triple that. We can call it 63, and that would be right. So Carolyn Leaf. You guys ever hear of Carolyn Leaf, Leaf? She's a cognitive brain scientist. Her TED Talks are great. TED. If you don't know what that is, just type in TED Talk Carolyn Leaf. She understands neuroscience in the brain. She talks about how The 21-day patterns are how the brain forms a new habit. So let's say I'm going to start exercising, riding my bike, or I'm going to stop eating cookies for breakfast, or I'm going to do whatever it is you're going to do. The first 21 days, what you start to do is your brain starts to kind of create these little wires. And then the next 21 days, these wires start to get thicker and grow out almost like a tree. And then the next 21 days, those trees become, they flower, they create leaves. And after 63 days, that is now like a plant in your brain. It's a hardwired structure. It's real and it won't go away until you undo that. But at any point along those 63 days, if you ignore it, if you don't water that thing, which means do what you're doing, for 1 to 2 days, it just turns into heat and goes away, just dissipates. Because the brain's very efficient. It's not going to grow all these wires if you don't need them. So you literally will be full of hot air, okay, if you have a habit. So which one of us has started a diet or a journaling or a management program or whatever it is, and over 63 days, you've missed a day or two? All of us. That's why we try to do the same thing for a decade and it doesn't seem to work, okay? We got to make sure we hang in there with this or it's not going to work, okay? So 63 days. That's why thoughts are things. Carolyn Leaf, she'll explain it. My job is to connect you to things where you could do some education, while you're driving in traffic. Instead of it being traffic, you choose to take control of your thoughts and say, hey, I'm going to use this as a classroom, right? And now you could drive home and have YouTube playing. I mean, please don't watch it. I do YouTube Premium so I can lock the screen, not get into trouble. And listen to Carolyn Leaf on your way home. All right. Number 2 is, oh, go for it. Let's unmute him. All right. So that's our thought life, right? So there's a couple resources, the Fourth Dimension Living and Carolyn Leaf TED Talk. Watch those, please. Motion. Okay, number 2 is motion. Remember, 1 is thoughts. That's how we could charge ourselves and drain ourselves. Obviously, you know about thoughts. The shoulda, woulda, coulda, self-critical nature, expectations. There's a time and a place for that, but most of us are doing too much of that. Those drain us. And we'll talk about how to change that in a minute. But motion. Okay. I'm a firm believer of walking. I'm just going to say this simple, okay? And I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Most of my patients get great results from autoimmune problems. Now, I don't treat and diagnose autoimmune problems. I just get people who are really sick, who are either throwaways from the medical system, which means I don't know what to tell you, or they're just not getting well, okay? Once in a while, somebody comes in with chronic pain, but usually they come in with chronic pain. They're there to see me from the weirdest things you've ever believed. And you're going, why would they see a chiropractor? Well, because I have an ability to ask the right questions and direct them to the right resources and take things apart and not be so monopic in my vision and not be so looking at everything through the wrong lens. So motion. Most people whose bodies are stressed, meaning you're in a perpetual state of fight or flight. Well, how do you know if that's you? You have chronic pain. Okay, I don't care what kind of pain. If you haven't injured yourself in the last 3 months and your back always hurts or your knee always hurts, I don't care how bad the injury was a decade ago. Things heal after 6 to 12 weeks. And even if they don't heal right, you lose function and strength and flexibility, but you should not have pain. That's not how the nervous system works. Pain is if you grab that hot frying pan, it immediately tells you to let go, right? Now, if you let go quick, you ever get lucky, like, whoo, I got away with it. If you burn yourself pretty significantly, you're like, uh-oh, now it might take a few months. I burned myself with grease really bad. That took 6 months to heal. As extreme as it can get, right? 6 months for new skin and it all to slough off and the scarring and everything. But I don't wake up now 25 years later, go, oh, my arm's burning, right? That would be silly. But we do that with back pain. We do that with headaches. We do that with neck pain. We do that with migraines. We do that with meniscus problems. We do that with, fibromyalgia. We do that with all these problems. Guys, if that's you, or that's autoimmunes, or it's cancer, or it's hypertension, or it's diabetes and insulin resistance and all the things I mentioned, guys, these are all just flavors. These are later stages of a stressed body who's just saying, hey, I need help. Hey, I need help. And you just don't know how to listen. So it just keeps getting louder and louder and louder, right? It's like your check engine light on the car, okay? You can't disconnect the light and say, I fixed the problem. No light, no problem. Well, what was that light trying to tell you? Could have been minor. You need a few pounds of air in your tire. Maybe your battery's getting low. Hey, you left your gas cap off, right? You guys ever have those check engine lights? Sometimes it means your transmission's about to break. Pull over now or it's going to cost you $12,000. Anybody ever have one of those? So, but what we do is say, oh, it's just a light. It's just a light. It's just a light. So motion, guys, if that's you, chronically stressed, okay? I appreciate if you're exercising, but if you're doing high intensity exercise, you're probably making things worse. Okay, you're probably draining your battery, not charging it. Because high intensity exercise, weight training, Zumba, jazzercise, shout out to my wife. She loves her jazzercise. What else? Spin classes, Orange Theory, half marathons, all that stuff. That's all anaerobic. CrossFit, it's all anaerobic. And what do you burn when you're doing anaerobic exercise? You burn sugar, okay? So you have a sugar battery in your body. It's small. It's in your muscles and your liver, okay? And we're going, no, I'm burning that sugar because I'm going to build more muscle, and then I'm going to burn my big fat battery, okay? Because we all have big fat batteries, don't we, right? That's humans. We have fat batteries to get through a famine. The problem is a stressed out body breaks down and burns the sugar battery, and then it starts to break down muscle and bone for energy, and it will not touch the fat. A stressed body will not burn fat. It just won't. It doesn't work that way. Because a sugar burning stressed body burns sugar, okay? Sugar creates an insulin resistance, which is the biggest problem in healthcare in America. Insulin resistance, pre-diabetes. It's what's causing, in my opinion, it is the precursor to all cancer, most autoimmune, heart disease, all the itises. It's a big problem. You know, when I was a kid, I had a diabetic friend. 70 milligrams per sugar per deciliter of blood, you know, is called a blood sugar number, was normal and healthy. Fast forward 30 years later, they're saying 120 milligrams of sugar per deciliter of blood is normal. That's almost twice the sugar in the average human's blood when they're fasted. It's a problem, guys. They're just changing the lab values because we don't know what to do medically. They're building hospitals to cut off toes and do dialysis and blind care. That's the long-term effect of insulin resistance. So anyhow, all that to say, if this is you or you're curious of like, oh, I might be in this category, start walking 30 to 60 minutes every day. Try to stay off a treadmill. That's being walked, right? I mean, that's fine if it's raining, you know, and you don't want to get wet, although you are waterproof. I haven't met a human who's not waterproof yet. Go out and walk in nature, 30 to 60 minutes every single day. Try to do it on an empty stomach. Try to do it first thing, and you'll start to see your body change. You'll start to sleep better. You'll digest better. And then we could start to reintroduce those fun, exciting things, right? Those fun, exciting things like intense mountain biking. Gentle mountain biking's great. Intense running. Walking is better than running for most, because when you run, it's all heart rate dependent. You don't want to drain your batteries, okay? If you have any personal questions, medical questions, guys, by the way, drshawnpatterson@gmail.com. I'll answer them individually the best I can. I've gotten tons this week, and I appreciate it. And maybe, Chanel, you can put that on the screen. Dr. Sean, S-E-A-N, Patterson, P-A-T-T-E-R-S-O-N, you know, like the Irish name. My mom had a thing for Sean Connery. That's where S-E-A-N came from. drshawnpatterson@gmail.com. Please. But motion, guys, get your steps in. Good, better, best. If you're only taking 5,000 steps a day, and most of you right now don't even know it, especially the guys who carry their cell phone in their pocket, you got a health app on your iPhone, tells you how many steps you're taking a day. It's kind of creepy. I pulled that thing out and realized it's been tracking my steps since 2016. I don't remember giving it permission, but it's watching me, isn't it? And I used to get 3,000 and then 5,000, and the healthiest I ever was 10,000 steps a day, which is like 4.5 miles a day. That's an hour of walking. Okay, Fitbits will tell you that. But remember, you got to get your steps in. So good, better, best. If you're not getting 5,000, get 5,000. Then go to 7,500, then go to 10,000, okay? Get up to an hour a day. And then we start talking about how to maximize high intensity to get your muscle built, your growth hormones. Otherwise, all you're doing is pulling minerals out of your bones for fight or flight, sugar out of your muscles for fight or flight, getting your blood pressure jacked up. And what do we call those things? What do we call chronic high blood pressure? Hypertension. What do we call, which heart disease, right? What do we call chronic mineral deficiency? Osteoporosis. And then what happens when we have all that calcium in our blood from all this stress? We get constipated, we get tension headaches, we get restless leg syndromes, we retain fluid. All right, who are my homies out there who end the day and you take off your socks and it still looks like your socks are on from all the impressions, okay? So keep it simple. People say, what about yoga and stretching? Hey, that's all great, but it doesn't supersede and take away from walking. Walking first, okay? All right, does that make sense for motion? Perfect. Looking in the chats here, good. Like I said, if there's questions, just raise your hand, we'll get to your question. I want to stay on track here. I got 35 minutes, I got 2 more to cover, okay? Food. Number 3 is food. Oh boy, this one gets crazy because I start hearing about, what do you think about intermittent fasting and ketogenic and you know, this is a tricky one. This is one of those keep it simple and simpler, right? KISS. This is one of those we got to exhibit a lot. So I'm going to give you the low-bearing fruit, which means the 2 or 3 things I tell my patients over the last decade. I've been doing this 20 years, but I've been doing a lot of hormone health, weight loss, and chronic health conditions for 15. Here is what gives people the biggest bang for their buck, the quickest results with the little amount of work possible. Because that's what I'm about. Let's peel the low-bearing fruit first, and then we'll climb up the tree and grab them coconuts, 100 feet up. But y'all sometimes are crazy. You're passing up all this great fruit and you're trying to get those, unripe coconuts. They're 200 feet up at the top of that tree. That's a hard fall when you go sliding down that thing. So low-bearing fruit. Sugar is the problem in America, okay? All of our degenerative health diseases, the primary even complications in COVID deaths over these last 2 years, and I try to stay away from talking about COVID, but this has nothing to do with upsets and drawing lines and masks and mRNA. This is just data. Whether you got the vaccine, whether you didn't get the vaccine, the spike, but COVID seemed to really like to attack people that had glucose problems in their body, okay? That's why you heard about obesity and diabetics really had the hardest time. For some reason, that virus knew how to manipulate the body and feed itself. That's kind of what happens. It goes, ooh, that person has sugar problems. They eat a lot of sugar. Let's go party with that body, okay? And it's a big deal. But in general, even if you take away all that virus stuff, insulin resistance is such a big problem because we eat sugar that digests too fast. We don't need all that sugar. And when I say sugar, what do I mean, guys? This is really important. One of the most important things today. When I say sugar, I mean table sugar, right? And then you have all your sugar forms, right? You have honey and you have simple syrups and you have all that. But then you have fruit. People just gasped. I heard it. He said fruit's bad for me? Could be. The answer to everything is it depends. I learned that from an attorney. I never say yes or no. It depends. Okay. For most people, I see fruit's bad for them. Did you know there's on YouTube, the UCSF, University of California, San Francisco Teaching Hospital. I forget the doctor's name. Oh, I just had it. If you just type in the bitter truth about sugar, UCSF, it's a real famous video. It's the doctor, he's the pediatric endocrine doctor. He's talking about fructose. He basically is saying that fructose is poison. Fructose, which is the sugar in fruit, has to convert to glucose in our liver. So it stresses out the liver. It quite literally is a poison to our liver. And when our liver doesn't work right, we don't detoxify, we don't get rid of fluid right, our immune system doesn't work, and our thyroid doesn't work right. Thyroid, people, right here, thyroid. Energy metabolism. Keeps our skin tight, keeps us youthful. That's our thyroid hormones. A lot of people have normal thyroid labs, but their thyroid is not working. Okay, so sugar. Fructose, grain, all carbohydrate turned to sugar, right? Grain. Did he say my rice, my pasta, my fat-free crackers, my fat-free bread, my organic bread, my bagel, muffin, waffle, cookie? Yes, all of it. That all turns to sugar too fast. You're going to release insulin. You're not going to burn fat. You're going to make your fat battery bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. Hey, and there's nothing wrong with a big fat battery. I've had seasons where my fat battery is 60 pounds heavier than right now. Okay. The key is your liver health, though, because if you're really heavy and you have a healthy liver, you're healthy. You could be really skinny. You could be thin. You could be 110 pounds, and ready for the beach and have a stressed out liver, and you are sick. You are not a healthy person. So juice is some of the worst thing you could ever do to your body in most situations. But so sugars, grain, starch, sugar. So we have to bring that stuff down. So what I tell people is take all that stuff and trade it for quinoa and beans. You guys know quinoa? Quinoa? It's that weird seed looking thing. And beans. What kind of beans? Whatever kind you like. Garbanzo beans, kidney beans, navy beans, black beans, okay? So remember, good, better, best. This is good. Taking all that sugar and just trading it for better carbohydrates, okay? Glycemic index. Glycemic index, write that down. That's a list of how things turn to sugar. Carbohydrates turn to sugar. The things at the top of the list, those are all the diseases and stress comes from, all the addictions, right? Things at the bottom of the list, that's what creates health. There's number 40 on there. I tell people, hey, try to stay 40 and under. Wherever beans and quinoa are on that list, that number and under, and you're going to start to burn fat and lose weight. Most people, okay? Combined with your walking, all right? Now listen, there's a lot of food content. What about intermittent fasting? It depends. If you have blood sugar problems, all you're going to do is break down muscle and bone if you don't eat sugar. And you're saying, I thought you just said don't eat sugar. Well, we got to wean you off those carbohydrates by eating lower carbohydrates. And then you could start to dabble with more fat and ketogenic diets and intermittent fasting. But right off the bat, let's just lower our sugars, right? Let's not drink. One of the other important things. So number one, right? Trade your fruit, starch, sugar, and grain for quinoa and beans. Number two, don't drink your calories. Just don't drink calories. Oh, but I drink almond milk. Oh, but I drink wine. Oh, but I drink orange juice. It's organic. Just don't drink calories. We can't metabolize sugar that fast. We just can't. Now, if you're running a marathon while you're drinking your orange juice, have at it, right? But once again, what we say, you should be running, most of you, right? So see the problem we get in? We want to treat our bodies like fine-tuned athletes, but we're not healthy enough to be fine-tuned athletes. And I'm not saying you can't do it. I know people out there who look great and could run a marathon. I've also known people who have dropped dead at the end of marathons. They look great and they ran fast, but they weren't healthy, okay? So we're talking about health here, our batteries, our vital capacities, okay? So yes, glycemic index, thank you in the chat. That's 40 and under. You guys are great helping each other out with this. Eat right for your blood type. I love that. I do real well with it. I've seen people get real sick with it because what you can't do is do a one size fits all. First, you have to look at stress. Okay, you have to look at stress first. That supersedes anything. For some people that are so stressed out, here's what I do. I say, hey, pick 10 or 12 foods that we know work for you that are low glycemic, okay? 10 or 12, and that's it. Eat that for 3 weeks. You go, what? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so if you look at the glycemic index, and these are just general ideas, the glycemic index is basically 0 to 100 list. 100 is things that turn to glucose the fastest. The low ones are things like broccoli that has carbohydrates in it, but it turns really slow. That one would be like, I don't know, 10 on that list. Around 40 on that list of 0 to 100, around 40, that's kind of the threshold where things turn to sugar really slow and they don't make us dump so much insulin into our bloodstream, okay? So if you just read a little synopsis on glycemic index, just Google that, go to Mayo Clinic or some real, one of my favorites on all this dieting stuff is Dr. Berg, D-R-B-E-R-G, just Berg, drberg.com. He's actually out in Virginia and he works a lot with high profile people in the Pentagon and he really knows a lot about food. You could go to his YouTube channel and have at it. I personally trained with him. I've learned so much from him. He's a good guy. He's quirky. I like quirky people. So yeah, we don't want to drink our calories. We want to eat lower glycemic, trade those things for better. That's good, better, best. And the last thing I want to say about food is, be careful dieting. I don't like dieting. I like to keep things simple. And remember, it takes like 63 days to make a change that lasts. So small changes over time. Guys, here's what you don't want to hear. It's probably going to take you 2 to 3 years. You don't want to hear that because we want to lose that 40 pounds in 3 months or 6 weeks, even better, right? How many years and decades have you been trying to lose that same 30 pounds? 6-week cycles, one after the other, and it never works because you got to go 63 days and then you got to make another change, 63 days, okay? So I lost 30 pounds in the last 3 years and people wouldn't know it. They say, oh, you're just muscular. I'm like, well, yeah, but come to the beach with me on sun's out, guns out day, and you'll see I had a little bit more potential energy, right? My fat battery was bigger. Energy waiting to be stored. So we don't call it fat, we call it potential energy. So I had a lot more potential energy. It's taken me 3 years to lose 30 pounds. 3 years, 30 pounds. I'm doing it the right way. That's why. It's painfully slow. I mean, what is 36 months to lose 30 pounds? That's not even a pound a month. Who wants to sign up for that diet? That's why I'm not world famous, right? I will teach you how to lose 3/4 of a pound of fat per month. Nobody wants to hear that, but that's the only way to do it right. Okay, guys? So time tested. Okay? And once again, we could come back to food, or if you have a personal question, by all means, just send me an email. And when we wrap up, if there's time, we'll do more Q&A, okay? But remember, for food, don't do the A to Z diet. You guys know the A to Z diet? Chanel, you know the A to Z diet? A to Z? Oh my goodness. A to Z, you start at Atkins and you end at Zone and you do all 233 diets all the way. Oh, I did all of them, guys. I used to get up in the middle of the night, no joke. This is how, I can't say, this is how special I am. We'll say that. How unique I am. I would set my alarm to get up at 3 a.m. to eat cornflakes with grape juice. Do you know what I did to my body? Now I had big muscles. I was doing this bodybuilding thing. I didn't know what insulin was. I was making myself insulin resistant. And guess what happened by the time I hit 35 years old from doing all that? That's one thing. I got full heads of hair at death on both sides of my family. It is not hereditary. I gained 30 pounds and I blew 2 discs out my back and now I deal with chronic sciatic problems when I'm stressed out. All that was because of stress. Started with pushing myself too hard, started with too high of expectation, too much discipline, right? I was up here chasing squirrels, not enough sleep, too much adrenaline from a pot of coffee a day and taking ephedrine products and all these, dieting supplements and bodybuilding supplements. And I whacked out my hormones because insulin resistance, that sugar problem, will mess up your thyroid, your testosterone, your estrogen, your cortisol, which is your primary stress hormone. So most of us are hurting and tired because our stress hormones aren't working right, okay? And last thing about food, fat does not make us fat. Cholesterol is what makes all your sex hormones. Testosterone, cortisol, progesterone, which is protective against cancer, heart disease, dementia. All those are made from cholesterol, guys. Your liver makes cholesterol, you know? Cholesterol was very marketed as a big problem. It's a correlation with some heart diseases, right? Correlation, not causation. Because now the statin was the most prescribed drug in the world for years and years and years, and now people die more than ever of heart disease with low cholesterol. Didn't work, okay? Didn't work. Food pyramid didn't work, okay? Our government's awesome in so many ways, and it's pretty goofed up in other ways. You guys know, we just laugh and shake our head. Like, we're all doing our best, but half the time what we're living now is from policies and bad or information that was 25 years ago, and it just changes slowly. So you got to pick a guy like me or a gal similar to me that kind of goes, hey, I read the research, I'm in the trenches, I'm looking at this stuff, I understand, hey, government, they're doing their best, but the information comes real slow. And with all the craziness out there, you don't know what to trust anyway. There's so many extremes, right? Okay, so number 3 was food. We have thoughts, motion, food. So we're learning how to charge our batteries, right? Number 4 is be the boss. Who wants to be the boss? Raise your hand. Yeah, there's a few of you are like 2 hands, right? They're looking at Mary right now, wherever Mary is, and they're like, come on, that's my girl, Target. But most of you got, not me, I don't want to be the boss. Well, you got to be the boss, okay? You got to. I'm telling you right now, you have to be the boss. I'm not saying the boss of, Sacramento County Child Support Services. I'm not talking about that boss. Although if you want to be that boss, you know how you get that job? Do a great job for your boss and tell him, look at him right in the eye. Right in the eye, Chanel, I'm coming for you. I'm going to do my job so well that you get promoted so I can have your job. Sound good? That's how we get somebody's job. We don't do it on the sly. We don't do it in a coup. That's called a hostile takeover. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. But you got to be the boss. You have to be the CEO of your own life. You got to be the CEO of your own life, right? Everybody raise your hand if you want to be the CEO of your own life. Okay? It's a tall order. It's a tough responsibility, but nobody else is going to do it for you unless you really let them. But I mean, guys, that's what gets into like socialist, communist kind of things, right? And there are some benefits to that, right? My needs are taken care of. I know people who lived in communist countries, and some of them liked it. Hey, I knew what to expect. There was certainty there. Okay, but most people don't. We're American. We are free people. So you can't just keep giving all your power away and all your choices. You got to take your power and be the CEO of your own life. And you don't do it with an iron fist. You do it by compassion and love and caring, all that fourth dimension stuff we talked about. You do it by feeding yourself well. You do it by moving your body well. You prove to yourself, like most CEOs I know, it's this very romantic, exciting Hollywood rock star thing nowadays, right? Get on Instagram. Everybody's a CEO. Everybody's got a business. Everybody's got, the profile pic and this and the car in the background. And they know how to make money. What does that mean, right? Anybody here have seasons of enough and seasons of lack? I have too. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like money. But if your mission is to make money, I know so many people who are train wrecks personally, but they make a lot of money. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being a good CEO, all right? A manager and a CEO that somebody would be proud to follow. People want to align with you. And you get enough of you guys together, this is how we change things, right? This is how we change departments, how we change organizations, how we change government structures, how we change communities, right? By being the CEOs of our own life. I love Jordan Peterson. He talks about that one. He works with some really troubled people. He's a pretty famous Canadian psychologist. Some people are so destitute, so depressed, so anxious, so suicidal. You know what he starts? He goes, if you were to make a list of the things you probably need to do to get well, all right, what's the first or second thing on that list that you could do, that you would do to get healthier? So that's what I'm telling people, guys. Being the CEO of your life, what's 1 or 2 things that you know you could be doing? The simplest things. Not step 89 and 105. What's step 1 and 2? I'm trying to give them to you. Move your body. Think good thoughts. If you can't think good thoughts, here's my Post-it. See how old this Post-it is? I need this Post-it. It's taken me, I've been staring at this for 4 months. I haven't done it yet. This Post-it is telling me 1, how awesome I am. And 2, it's reminding me of my vital behaviors that make me me. And it's also saying you need to talk to 25 people about some of these ideas you have for what you want to do in your career. And I'm about halfway down the list and I just stare at that darn Post-it. But it reminds me of who I am. I don't get all angry when I see it. Oh, I'm a loser. I'm a failure. This Post-it's remind me. No, I just say, hey, oh yeah, this is who I am. I forgot for a second. I got stressed out. I forgot who I was. Okay. So being the CEO of your life is getting your affairs in order, but it's not putting unrealistic expectations on yourself, guys. If you're stressed out, you're not going to make good choices. But you could make a good choice, and you could do that for 63 days. So what I'm telling you to do, if nothing else, go out and walk, trade your carbohydrates a bit, get your Post-it life going, Watch some videos and just do it for 63 days and watch what will happen. I promise you, you'll go from good to better to best. Okay? You guys got to believe me, because here's what we do. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I'm going to do that diet. I'm going to buy that book and do that coaching program. I'm going to do this over here, and you do it for 59 days, and then you miss 2 days and you start over. And then you're frustrated, and excuse my language, you are pissed off at the world because you just worked for 59 days. You spent $2,000. You said no to that cake and ice cream. You said no to those late night drinks. You said no. You got up at 5 in the morning, you walked, and you just wasted your time. Yeah, let that sit in. 59 days of your life, you wasted your time. And you're probably going to do that for the next 10 years over and over. And here's what's going to happen. You're either going to give up and get worse, or you're going to push harder, and you're going to be so wound up that when you walk in the room, people say, hey, how you doing today? All right? That's what's going to happen. Okay, you're going to get, the wrong batteries are going to be charged. You're going to be way overcharged, and then you're going to get sick. Okay, and I'm not trying to put that on you. That's not negative, prophetic words over your life. I'm just saying this is physiology and biology and psychology, guys. I see this every single day, right? We're people. This is what happens when we live in tomorrow and yesterday, okay? All right, fat doesn't make us fat, that's for sure. What makes us fat? Let's be real. Chanel, I'm going to put you in the hot seat. What makes us fat? Yes, ma'am. Because when we're stressed, we eat something that rhymes with booger. I mean, maybe you eat boogers, but sugar. Sugar. Yes, because when we're stressed, we want things that give us quick energy, which is sugar. Absolutely. Stress makes sugar. And what's sugar? We think, no, I'm eating fat-free crackers. I'm eating rice cakes all day. I'm not stressed. A rice cake is worse than white table sugar, guys. A rice cake, a fat-free cracker, that will make you fatter than eating white table sugar. Because if you look at the glycemic index, you go, oh my gosh, you mean this fat-free cereal, bagel, cracker, bread turns to sugar faster than table sugar does? Yes, it does. The FDA, guys, I'm sorry, they've confused us a little bit with that food pyramid stuff, okay? It's the refinement of grains. And then we genetically modify the grains, so then they get in our body and create inflammatory messes. High blood sugar and inflammation. I wonder what that might cause. I don't know, but how about heart disease, dementia, cancer, diabetes, and we go on and on. It's the same broken record, guys. So anyhow, we have to have stress. We have to handle stress properly, which is bringing it back in from the future, bringing it back in from the past. Let's stay in the now. Let's remember who we are. Let's go on our walk, and let's choose to trade those stress foods for other foods. And yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to take a little discipline. That's why we only do 1 or 2 things at a time. And after 63 days, it will be a new habit that is wired in your brain, and it won't be discipline anymore. It will be a new habit. It will, I promise you. So I went from doing that. You know what the last thing for me to give up was? Hardest thing ever. Tortilla chips, corn tortillas. Well, they're organic, and I only have a few. And when I really got those out of my life, number one, of course, in hindsight, I go, I guess I was eating a lot more than I thought I was, right? Just like sugar. But number 2, I dropped like another 5 or 6 pounds of body fat like that over like 3 months without doing anything but giving up tortilla chips. Well, they were fat-free. They tasted so good. They're corn. That's a vegetable, right? No. Corn is not a vegetable. Corn is, I don't know. Corn's a tough one. Corn yields a lot of energy, okay? Yes, you could break that walk down. I think it's better to go on a 30 to 40 minute walk twice a day if you can, right? You could do an intermittent walk, especially those with back pain. 10-minute walks every 2 hours. Oh, it works, guys. It's a cumulative thing. It's good, better, best. Absolutely. So yes, you could break your walks down. Just do it. Just do it. That's about one of the only things I like about Nike these days. Just do it. It's a good slogan. I mean, I like the shoes too, but I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. My kids play basketball. I get a little agitated with the basketball world sometimes. But anyhow, thoughts, motion, food, and being the CEO of your own life, okay? Let me see what else I wanted to say about that thought life, CEO life. I think I got that. I don't want to miss anything here as far as references to help you guys. But what I do want to say, I told you about Carolyn Leaf. She's really powerful. Here's one of my favorite books, guys. This one, let's see. Good, I got 15 minutes. This one has yellow pages. Remember Real Books? This one is from 1964. $2.45. One of my favorite authors of all time, Maxwell Maltz, M-A-L-T-Z. He was a medical doctor, plastic surgeon. He didn't even start. All right, number one, those of you who are caught up in this senility disease in America, it's a disease in America called senility. Oh, I'm just getting old. Oh, I'm 55. Now I'm 60. I'm 65. Now I got to have this and now I got to have that. My doctor said that. That's almost 100% of that's lies. Okay, that's a senility thing. This book will give you the science that your brain doesn't stop peaking until 75 years old. So all of you, who's 75 and under in this crowd right now? Probably almost 100%, right? Y'all better stop saying, oh, my knees hurt because I'm too old, or I make these noises when I get out of the chair because I'm getting old, or, well, I'm losing my hair because I'm getting old. I mean, listen, there are some biological aging things, absolutely. But we start claiming those things as truth, and we are lying to ourselves and being lied to, okay? This book, The Magic Power of Self-Image Psychology. Any Maxwell Maltz book is great, though. There's a bunch. There's some newer ones. This one's from the 60s. This is one of the most simplest, amazing books. I mean, you can open it up and read any page right off the bat. I just start reading about a guy that went to a party. I remember this. His stories are so good. He went to a party and he was really nervous because he was intimidated because he was just starting out and they were all professionals and attorneys and had money and all this. And you know what he did? He did a theater of the mind thing. Before he went in, he just role played, pictured himself going in confident. And he literally went in and everything changed for him. It talks about how to use mental psychology and role playing and rehearsal. Because thoughts are things, guys. You say, oh, that's silly. That doesn't really work. I could point you to studies. There was a piano study done where they took a 2-week study course on playing the piano. They took a bunch of people, 3 groups. One group did nothing. They were just in the room with the piano. One group learned and actually played the piano. One group learned, sat at the piano, and never was allowed to touch the keys. Of course, the control group who did nothing, they were goofing off. They didn't get any better. The group that just learned but never touched the piano almost did as well as the group that touched the piano. They literally never played the piano. They just sat there at the piano looking at it as they learned. It just shows you when you picture yourself doing things, you learn, okay? Thoughts are things, all right? So that's really important. Yes, Magic Power of Self-Image Psychology. Maxwell Maltz, M-A-L-T-Z. He is amazing. He died long ago. I mean, he died, I think, the year I was born. Maybe even earlier. I think he died I was born in 74. He was born in 70. He died in 73. So it's strange to read somebody's work who never was even alive when you were. But, this is also where all self-coaching, positive thinking, the whole motivational speaker world, they all begged, borrowed, and stole from this guy. He is the author of it all, okay? So be good, be better, be best, okay? When you're stressed out and you're charging that wrong battery up, or you're living in the future, or you're stuck in hurry and worry and all your creative juices are suppressed so you could be stressed, so you could fight and flight, and your blood sugar's up and you're craving sugar and your heart rate's up and you're anxious and your blood pressure's up and you hurt and you're just tense. Here's what happened, guys. You forgot who you were. Okay? So just stop, take a breath. Remember who you are, okay? You wrote it down earlier. You're a unique, unbelievable creature, aren't you? There's 6 billion people alive right now. There's nobody like you, and there's nobody that has your specific purpose in this life. And I mean that. And listen, part of being the CEO of your life, which I'm mandating you to do, you want to talk about mandates. That's the mandate we should all be hearing, especially from our regulatory government and things like that. Be the CEO of your own life, guys. Make big boy and big girl decisions for yourselves. Here's the true information. You do what's best for you. I'm not going to manipulate you. I'm not going to sell you. I'm not going to bribe you. I'm just going to present the facts and let you be the CEO of your own life. That's America right there. So when you take a breath and you realize, hey, nobody makes you do anything in this country. There's countries that are really a bummer. There's people forced to do things they don't want to do. There's people who have no rights. We are in America right now and we still are free people, okay? So you make good choices for yourself. And that's how you become the CEO. But when you're acting like a big jerk and you're stressed out and you're tense and you're barking at people and snapping at people and you don't feel well and you're gaining weight and eating stress foods and not exercising and hiding or fighting or flighting, you just forgot who you were. So I ask you humbly to just please remember who you are. Go to that 4th dimension. If you're having a real hard time, remember, what could you do that you would do that you're not currently doing, and start there. Get yourself around people who have the same interests and that are compassionate and loving. I don't care what it is. It could be picking up trash on the side of the road. It could be caring for sick animals. It could be going to the orphanage. It could be serving at your church. It could be a volunteer committee. Whatever you're good at and you like the people and you see people having fun or operating in their compassion and love, go hang out with them, okay? That's how you start to attract the right things, okay? Be humble. We all need each other, okay? Questions? I got 9 minutes with you guys. Well, you guys are great. Ooh, good question. Okay, here's the best answer. It depends. Haha, got her. Here's what that means. You have to have the right expectation. So here's what people do. I'm going to change this and I'm going to get on the scale every morning or once a week. And if it doesn't change, it ain't working. Okay. The scale has to be one of 7 things. I think this is what I tell people. Hold me accountable. Scale is important. Inches. If you're going to do a physical body thing, you better measure yourself up and at least, calves, thighs, your waist, your hips, your neck, okay? I got to measure my head because my head gets big. I get a big head. That's another metric. How about your bowel movements, your digestion? Okay, that's number 3. How about your sleep? How about your clarity of mind or your positivity? How about aches and pains? And how about cravings? Now, if you do what I asked for a week and you don't see change in your weight, in your inches, in your clarity of thought, in your cravings, in your sleep, in your digestion, in your... What'd I miss? Aches and pains. Oh, that's a big one. Then you're doing something wrong and you're not on the right track. And how long should you notice some of those? I would say between 3 and 7 days. If you don't notice something there's something terribly overlooked that we need to talk about. And that's where you email me on the download and say, hey, Dr. Sean, I did this and none of these changed. And then I'll ask you some better questions, right? Then I'm not going to ask you in front of all these people because then it gets really personal about stress and where your brain's at and maybe chemicals in your body and allergies and immune system and light pollution and all kinds of things that are outside of these 4 things we're talking about. Because there's a lot more than these 4, guys. This is just where we start, okay? All right, you're welcome, Miss Mary. So I want to tell you, and Mary, you are... Yes, ma'am. Yep. That's a great question. The first 3 days are going to be hard. You're going to handle them with discipline, okay? But if you do those things, other things right, like if you go on your walk and you feed yourself the right calories, listen, you're going to withdraw, guys. Sugar's a drug, okay? Sugar, nicotine, heroin, Oxycontin, opiates, they're all very similar in their withdrawal. They are legitimate withdrawals. So for a few days, it might be rough. Honestly, in my experience, if you're still having sugar cravings after 3 days, you're still eating sugar. Okay, that's the key. You're eating too much sugar and it might be sneaking in somehow. Almost everybody after 3 days. I mean, they come in and they just look at me like my face is weird. They're just looking at me sideways like, how is it that I don't crave sugar? It's bizarre. They don't believe it. Okay, so that's what I would tell you. But if you're over-exercising or you're not sleeping enough or you're really, 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 really stressed or you're still eating some hidden sugars, that's the only way you're still gonna have sugar cravings, okay? So discipline for a few days. I like monk fruit, I like stevia. Those are about the only kind of sugar alternatives I like, okay? Yeah. Hi. Thank you. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, Dr. Sean Patterson. I have a website, drpatterson.com, just drpatterson.com. There's a little opt-in there that will kind of take you through some of my health journey. Little fun thing I just did. I'm about to change it up again, but it takes you through some a little bit of like weight loss fitness thing. And other than that, Instagram, Dr. Sean Patterson. And you got my email. I like to communicate with people. And I try to be really a conduit of resource for people because nothing I'm saying I made up. I just steal. I beg, borrow, and steal it all from really really amazing people that teach me, and then I try to repackage it. But I do have a talent for repackaging it and giving it to individual people. So Keon, thank you so much for your kind words too. That makes me want to do what I do when I see people that connect with me, because I mean, we're all authentic and we're all special in our own ways, and we just forget that sometimes, we just forget that. Awesome. Have a great rest of your day. Awesome. I was all over the place. I know, people. I was all over. Oh, how do statins affect cholesterol managing stress? I'm right here with you. Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the deal. Statins, they do lower cholesterol, but that's assuming cholesterol is a problem. And remember, the idea was, oh, cholesterol gets in there and plaques everything up. But really, cholesterol's main function is to make sex hormones, stress hormones. And so, a lot of my patients, what I do, I send them to their doctor and say, hey, I want to maybe try life without these statins. But here's the deal. It's a give and take. When I'm talking with medical doctors, I always give people, you got to offer a gift first. So you got to walk in and say, hey, doc, just by the way, I'm working with this wellness guy. I usually used to tell him, don't say I'm a chiropractor. That'll just, things kind of start ringing and dinging because, we have our preconceived conceptions of what things are and perspectives. I say, hey, I'm working with this guy. He's kind of a wellness coach, kind of weird guy. He talks about this and that. And I tweaked a few things. I'm walking every day. And guess what? I've lost 10 pounds. My blood pressure's down and my blood sugar's doing better. What do you think about getting off some of this medication? And most doctors, if they're a good doctor, they say, oh my gosh, number one, great job. Number two, they'll look surprised because nobody ever does anything like that usually, right? And number three, they're going to be on your team. If they don't have that reaction, might I suggest you get a new doctor, medical doctor, okay? All right, so I hope that answers that question. But it's wild. If you look at cholesterol, read it, you're like, wait a minute, why is everybody demonizing this? This is good stuff, not bad. Oh, let me answer one more thing before before I go, because this one's dear to my heart. Somebody talked about vanilla lattes to, black coffee, because I know y'all have Starbucks right behind you, don't you? Well, those of you in the office, I know where it is. I've been there. Okay, look, I love coffee. I put heavy cream in my coffee, right? Because there's no sugar, okay? And that still gives me I don't put sweet, but yeah, that's a big one, guys. Drinking those lattes and mochas and skinny, fat-free. Remember, fat-free just means there's more it just means there's more carbohydrate in there. That's more sugar. So fat free isn't always the thing. So coffee with heavy cream, that's been my go-to. It's a good appetite suppressant. Organic, even better, okay? Bless you guys. Thank you, Chanel. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. Bye, Miss Mary.